It always seems impossible until it is done. Christiana Figueres, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, quoted Nelson Mandela with this yesterday during her welcoming address at the opening of the Conference of the Parties at the UNFCCC conference starting yesterday in Durban, South Africa. It is probably a good motto to kickstart this COP. The international community is looking at us here in Durban, trying to find out where the countries stand in their common challenge and their common mandate to address global climate change and find solutions to key questions and issues such as technology transfer to help with mitigation and adaptation to climate change, how to finance the transformation in our energy markets and use of industrial products. How do we make this world more efficient so that we can actually achieve the targets that are being set, not by politicians, but by scientists, when they say we have to drastically mitigate emissions in order to make sure that the temperature rise on this planet stays within an area that makes this a livable planet for a long-term future. Now, this is the annual gearing up. There has been negotiations in intersessional meetings. Governments have been talking to each other about this global issue, climate change, all throughout the year. And they have been doing that for 17 years in a row, ever since the first meeting of the UNFCCC. And what happens unusually during those meetings is ideally the entire world now is ready to hear the results of the negotiations and the discussions that have been taking place throughout the year. So we all come here, and that is including the politicians and governments, to sit down and ideally at the end of this 2 weeks conference to announce the big result, the breakthrough. What is the outcome of this annual meeting? And so with that, every year we're going to those conferences and trying to identify, will this be a successful COP? Yes or no, and what are the results? The challenge with this is, on the first day, you just don't know. Often you don't even know on day 3 whether this will be a successful COP, and sometimes not even way throughout the second week, because the issues are so difficult. Governments coming together, negotiating their energy infrastructure, negotiating finance contributions to developing countries, negotiating catastrophes and how to adapt to them and deal with them, which is quite challenging. And at the end of the day, it does require a lot of consensus. So we'll be watching here how the governments come together and how they negotiate. How this formally is being done is through a set of conferences, the most important ones, the Conference of the Parties, and then the meeting of the parties to the Kyoto Protocol. The Conference of the Parties started yesterday at 10 o'clock. One of the key issues that need to be addressed is the agenda has to be adopted. Now, this should be, in theory, an easy point, but it is not unusual that adopting the agenda already leads to some kind of contentious negotiations between parties. Yesterday, we were not able to adopt a final agenda. It was only a provisional one, because India raised the issue that it would like to have amendments to be done on the agenda, and wanted to add 3 key points. One was technology distribution, the other one was sustainability, and the third one was unilateral trade measures, mainly adopted and addressed at the issue of the European Union regulating international aviation by including international aviation in the European Union emissions trading scheme, which raised concerns between countries like the US, China, and India in the past. So this issue was again raised during the COP and then during the Kyoto Protocol session, which was opened in the afternoon. Here we had finally, unfortunately, an adoption of the agenda with less problems, although China repeated the concerns of India with regards to international aviation. So not a rocky start, but not the smoothest start either, but enough to get this meeting going. And we will see how the parties will be coming together. The EU, I think, will have again taken a leadership role by addressing and formulating a roadmap and showing that it is willing to undertake targets, which is one of the key issues for both developing and developed countries at this COP. We will follow with interest. We will give you daily updates. If you're interested and you find this informative, please sign up to our video blog or visit our DLA Piper website. You will find all the necessary information there, and we'll be sending you daily video updates here from Durban, and with hopefully everyday good news, not just news that something happened, but also positive things that will happen. And stay tuned and see you hopefully tomorrow.